And welcome back to the Financially Simple Experience. So friends, we've been talking about this journey toward an 8-figure exit. And as we look at our business, as you might remember, I talk about business in 8 key areas: planning, leadership, sales, marketing, people operations, finance, and legal. 8 key areas of business that we all deal with as business owners. As we're marching toward, as we're driving toward is a term often used, as we're driving our team toward this 8-figure exit, we have to deal with marketing. Perhaps as business owners, there's not a more frustrating area than marketing. You know, marketing is one of those areas that often is the first to be cut when times get tough or lean, and it's the last to be funded when times are good and the harvest is plentiful. You know, many of us as business owners see marketing as a luxury. It's not essential to the core operations of our business. If we are talking into the financial advisory space, it has very little to do with helping clients reach their long-term aspirations. If we're talking with business owners who maybe have a widget to sell, marketing has very little to do with the actual production of the widget or the service of the widget or the sales of the widget. So many times we business owners view marketing as a luxury. The reality is nothing could be further from the truth. During the 2008 financial crisis, the consumer goods company Reckitt Benckiser increased advertising outlay by 25%. Now, what's interesting is as they were increasing their advertising, their marketing outlay by 25%, most of their competitors and many other companies were scaling back. Why? The market at that particular time, the economy, we now refer to as the Great Financial Crisis of 2008. But yet, while Reckitt Benckiser poured into marketing, they actually grew revenues by 8%. And increased profitability or profits by 14%, while many other companies were reporting declines of 10% or greater. So marketing isn't just an expense. Reality is it's an investment. It's an investment. So in today's episode, I want to deal with maximizing the return of your investment for your financial advisory practice. Now, just like past episodes, if you're not a financial advisor, don't worry. The content of today's episodes is directly applicable to your particular business. But we, as financial advisors, we understand return on investment. We deal with investments on a regular basis. But have we ever considered marketing to be an investment? Let's dive today into this concept of return on investment for marketing. Before we dive much further, though, we have to understand the basics around marketing. Michael Kitces does an outstanding job doing research for the financial advisory space. And in the 2022 Kitces report titled How Financial Advisors Actually Market Their Service, he revealed that the average client acquisition cost for financial advisors was $2,167. And of that $2,167 in 2022, only about 30% of those dollars were attributed to hard dollar marketing costs. In other words, paid advertising, printed material, banners, radio ads, etc. Only about 30% of the dollars we spend is directly attributed to hard dollar cost. Michael's report went on to state, quote, "The typical practice invested $1 in marketing to generate $1.2 in new client revenue, resulting in a marketing efficiency measure of 1.2. However, for practices of $1.5 million or more, for every dollar we spend, we only get an 80-cent return." Very interesting dichotomies there when you're looking at the return on investment for the financial advisory space. For us as business owners, we have to focus on the return on investment for marketing and realize how crucial it is for us to track these data points. Because if we're not careful, we could be pouring expensive dollars after poor returns. How do we do this? There are 2 key metrics that we must understand to calculate return on investment. The first one is the current revenue per client. That's an easy metric to understand. The way that I would go about determining the current revenue per client is you look at how much dollars each client produces for you. Another way you could go about is the average revenue per client. That's another simple mathematical calculation that you could take your total revenue of your business, divide it by the number of clients that you have within your business, and now you have the average revenue per client. What you'll notice if you calculate average revenue per client and current revenue per client, you'll see that some of your clients are in the top 20 percentile. And the more than likely, the rule of 80-20 applies. Your top 20% of clients provide 80% of the revenue. And if you continue that concept and that theory even further, the bottom 20% of your revenue producing clients often produce 80% of the work. So if we understand this current revenue per client, it will help us ascertain what is our return on investment. The next key point that we have to look at, and this is a calculation that we should all know how to make, is what is your lifetime client value? Or if you don't have clients, what is your lifetime customer value? Now, we've dealt with this particular calculation ad nauseum in times past. So for just a refresher, the client lifetime value is calculated in this fashion. What is your client value multiplied the average client lifespan? So let's put some simple math to this. Let's say that your average lifetime client stays with your business for 5 years. Every client you get on average stays 5 years. And then you start seeing attrition before or after, but 5 is the mean, 5 is the average. And let's, for simple math, say that every client generates roughly $1,000 in revenue. That means that your client lifetime value is $5,000. How do we get that? 1,000 is your average client revenue multiplied by 5 years, which means that every client we would hope generates $5,000 in value. The reality is that it's probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times the amount that I'm illustrating. I know clients that generate hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, and thus their client lifetime value could be 7 figures. I also know clients that generate hundreds of dollars per year, and thus their client lifetime value could just be hundreds or maybe low thousands over their lifetime value. If we understand the lifetime value, we can take it a step further and calculate a break-even point for our marketing. How do we do this? Let's assume that you spend $100,000 a year in marketing. You would need to bring in 100 new clients, in my previous example, 100 new clients generating $1,000 per client to break even in the current year. So 100 new clients times 1,000 is $100,000. So you may say, Justin, man, $100,000, I can't handle 100,000 new clients. Okay. Well, instead of looking at a break even in the current year, you may say, look, I'm going to spend $100,000 in marketing, but I want to break even over the lifetime of the client. If that's the case, we need to bring in 20 new clients. How do we ascertain that number? We take 20 new clients times a lifetime value in my example of $5,000 for a period of 5 years. So $1,000 a year for 5 years equals $5,000. 20 times 5,000 is $100,000. So if we were to spend $100,000 and gain 21 clients in year number 1, that means the lifetime value of our marketing spend is actually positive. If we gain 19 clients in year 1, the lifetime value of our marketing spend is actually negative. So understanding client lifetime value is apropos. It's fundamental in calculating the return on investment for us as business owners. There's another step in this calculation of return on investment. A study was created that stated that 86% of customers are willing to pay more for a great client experience. Think about that. In many different businesses, many times there's a race to the bottom in terms of cost or fees. The financial advisory space is no different. I know financial advisors that will continue to just lower their fees. And it's like a race. How low can I get my fees to be? And ultimately, the advisor ends up going out of business many years later. The consumers are willing to pay more than what oftentimes we value ourselves as long as they have a great client experience. How does this help us when we're calculating our client lifetime value? If we understand that our customer lifetime value, our client lifetime value is calculated off our current fee schedule, and as we look at our customer lifetime value, if we can enhance the client experience, then an increased cost to the customer may increase our client lifetime value. Conversely, friends, PwC found that 32% of all customers would stop doing business with a brand after one bad experience. So if we see our customer lifetime values dropping back, let's say instead of 5-year average lifetime of a customer, it goes to 4.2 or 3.6. There's bad experiences that are happening. We can then look at our customer lifetime value and say, hey, we have a problem. It's trending in the wrong direction. We need to make some improvements. In short, the customer lifetime value is all about customer retention and loyalty and satisfaction. Are we doing what our customers need in order for them to be happy and moving forward? Another consideration when we're talking about customer lifetime value is this. Keeping existing clients is up to 5 times less expensive than attracting new ones. Think about that. You see, the probability of selling a new service to an existing customer is about 60 to 70%, compared to 5 to 20% with a new client. So for us, as we're calculating this customer lifetime value, ultimately trying to determine what is our return on investment for marketing, we can ascertain certain business fundamental concepts that'll help us march toward our 8-figure exit. If we could retain customers longer, then ultimately we increase the customer lifetime value. If we can provide additional services to our customers, we ultimately increase the lifetime value. Okay, so we know we have to calculate our customer lifetime value, but ultimately, we as business owners are trying to figure out how much money are we going to spend in marketing. If we can calculate the return on investment for any type of number, then how much money should we spend? Studies, like I mentioned in the previous Kitces report, illustrate that financial advisory firms should spend between 1% to 3% of their revenue on hard dollar marketing costs, hard dollar, things like Facebook ads, websites, graphic design, video production, and so on. There's some credence given to this number by DeVoe Special Advisors Tim Coaches, who believes that firms should spend at least 2% of gross revenue on marketing and sales activities, or hard dollars. Coaches stated, and I quote, "Most other industries spend a great deal more than 5%. The RIA industry has been fortunate that we have had the market growing a lot of our revenue over time, and it's caused us to be complacent." Now look, friends, I realize there are studies out there that say 1% to 3%. Tim Coaches just illustrated that, hey, some firms spend more than 5%. I've actually seen in my own business that the more dollars I spend, as long as I'm tracking them, as long as I'm looking and honing that particular segment of my business, the greater the value of my business grew. Coaches went on to say, very interesting approach here. He said, and I quote, "Close to $1 million of new AUM might cost a firm $4,000. If your revenue per $1 million is $8,000 at 80 basis points with a 25% margin, that's $2,000 a year. What's the life expectancy of a client? 25, 30, 40 years? I don't care what big discount rate you use. The present value of that $2,000 per year is at least 10 times the cost to acquire the client." What's he driving at? Tim is driving at this point that many times we as business owners, we're our own worst enemies. We say, okay, we're going to budget this much revenue, this many dollars to the marketing for new clients. But yet we look at it in a very short time frame. We'll say, over the last quarter, I spent $20,000 and I didn't get any new clients. Over the last year, I spent $100,000 and I only got $80,000 in new clients. Friends, let's broaden our horizon a little bit. Let's think about that marketing dollars is not just for the here and now, not just for the immediate calendar year, fiscal year, calendar quarter, fiscal quarter, whatever you're calculating by. It's ultimately trying to ascertain how can we spend these dollars so that $1 yields us a return to drive us for our 8-figure exit. That's what we're ultimately after. So there are some quantifiable aspects of marketing that we can all study. If you look at your marketing spend as truly an investment, then we can track ROI. We can quantify it. You might look at your marketing spend. You may also look at your customer lifetime value. That's fine. Are all your marketing efforts aimed at attracting clients who can elevate your firm's customer lifetime value? Think about that question. Are all of your marketing efforts aimed at attracting those clients who will increase your customer lifetime value? I mentioned Michael Kitces because I love his work specifically around marketing in the financial industry. He illustrates a particular point regarding how relatively small movements impact the customer lifetime value and ultimately enhances our return on investment. In one of Michael's blogs, he actually illustrates this concept. He illustrates that $1 million AUM client charged at 1% with a 20-year lifetime. In other words, they're going to be with you for 20 years. That client would generate roughly $10,000 a year for 20 years, assuming a flat constant, no growth, no distributions, etc. Thus, the customer lifetime value would be $200,000. But what if we could incorporate the 20% profit margin? So we have $10,000 a year at a 20% profit margin for 20 years is $40,000 in profit. So if we brought in this client and they lasted for 20 years, we made profit off of them as shareholders of our companies, $40,000. Let's take this concept of profitability per client and let's improve it even further. Michael observed, and I quote, "When the prospective lifetime value of a client is so high, there's a lot of room for advisory firms not only to be successful, but to reinvest into their business to improve the situation further. If a firm can improve the client retention rates from 95 to 97%, the lifetime value of the client skyrockets from $40,000 to $66,000 and some change. If the firm can also run a little bit more efficiently and boost its profit margins from 20% to 25%, the customer lifetime value further improves from $66,000 to $83,000. What Michael's saying is that, look, in order for us to get to ROI, in order for us to determine the dollars that we need to spend in marketing, we have to understand what is our customer lifetime value. And by looking at the customer lifetime value, what in our business can we enhance? Can we streamline? Can we create more efficiency around to drive our customer lifetime value up? McKinsey & Company does many reports. In their 2021 Next and Personalization report, they explain that firms could create personalized marketing and have a 40% greater revenue potential than those who don't tailor their marketing. So friends, there's many ways that we can calculate and quantify our marketing efforts. Ultimately, what we're trying to determine is, are we getting a return on our investment in marketing? Okay, so we've covered a lot of different things that we can quantify. But what about the things that we can't quantify? There are many things in marketing that, friends, you're just not going to be able to quantify, but yet they're extremely powerful. This is the one thing that I often forget about. And when I talk to clients, talk to financial advisors in the industry, people across every business space, we often forget about this. We're so used to saying, I spent $1, I want $1 back. Or I spent $1, I want my dollar back to break even, and everything else we're playing with is the house money, as I've heard people say. The reality is that when we market, there are many things which we can't quantify. For example, how do you quantify client retention because of your marketing efforts? So let's say hypothetically that you're placing information out on social media and your clients are watching that. How do you quantify the retention rate because of your marketing efforts? How do you quantify the referrals that came from marketing? So many times people will say, well, I didn't get a referral from this website, or I didn't get a referral from my social media. It's almost impossible, if you're doing good marketing, for us to track where every referral comes from. How do you quantify local recognition, and how do you quantify employee recruitment? There are so many avenues or so many aspects that marketing can give us a return that we just can't quantify. Not too long ago, I was working with a client and I said, hey man, I really wish you would create some live video on social media regarding your particular product. He said, well, how many new clients do you think I'll get from that? I said, probably none. Well, then why would I do it? I said, because you're educating your current client base, you're educating your team, you're working on your own self-image, you're creating an avenue to communicate with other business professionals within your community. That simple video on a weekly basis is so much more than I spent time and here's a new client. Fast forward about a year and a half, the overall business has exploded, partially because of the marketing efforts they've done. Can we ascertain where every new client came from? No. But we can show that a holistic approach to marketing in that business and in any business, even the financial advisory space. A holistic approach to marketing yields the results that we often desire. So let me ask you this. As you look at your particular company, can you calculate your return on investment? Do you know how to calculate your customer lifetime value? What can you do within the business, or what are the tea leaves that you're reading through these calculations telling you about your particular company? Can you make improvements in efficiency? Can you drive more profitability within your company and thus increase the customer lifetime value, which ultimately increases your return on your investment? It's an investment. Marketing, we have to wash our brains that marketing is an expense. It's not. It's an investment into our future pathway to the 8-figure exit. You say, Justin, man, this is complicated. Marketing to me is not complicated, but I understand how so many business owners view the complexity of marketing and often just wave the white flag. If that happens to be you, or if you need some help, somebody to think through, hey, reach out to our team. We have many experts who can help you with this particular strategy, as well as other strategies to help you drive your company to an 8-figure exit. Friends, I realize this is frustrating. It doesn't have to be. Let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Y'all go out and make it a great day.